In this video, we got another episode of this series where I rate and improve your guys' teams. You guys will send me your teams on Twitter at X7Tanaka. I'll probably put a tweet every couple of days, maybe every week or so, asking for squads, and then you guys reply to that tweet with your team and how much MT you guys have to be potentially featured in one of these videos. But if you guys also want to comment down your team and MT amount down below in the YouTube comment section, I'll try to get to as many comments as possible and tell you guys what I would do to upgrade your guys' team. But looking at the first squad here of the video is going to be from Kylo Ren. He's got 200,000 MT and he's wondering what I would change. So for the rating out of 10 with the squad like this, I would say it's a really just solid team. Like, it's a good overall squad. You got great offense on the starting lineup. I'd maybe look to get a little bit more size, you know, probably move T-Mac to the shooting guard position, move Jonathan Isaac to your starting small forward, and I would sell Wilt Chamberlain personally. I just don't like the Wilt card. I think even a, you know, Brook Lopez is so much better at center. I think he'd be the guy to go with. So I would go starting lineup of Nikola Jokic, T-Mac, Jonathan Isaac, D-Rob, and let's say Brook Lopez, for example. And then off the bench, you can go Jimmy Butler, Vince Carter, probably slide Giannis to the 4, and then look for a backup small forward. That can be a Scalabrine, the hero version. If you wanted to spend a lot of your MT, you can maybe even look for a better backup point guard in a Ron Artest. I think he's probably an upgraded version over Jimmy Butler. You could look for a better backup center. There's a bunch of stuff you can do with your squad, but for the rating out of 10, I would say probably somewhere in the 8.5 to 9 range, maybe a 9. I would say a solid 9 out of 10 team. You also do have, you know, Jason Richardson off the bench who you could potentially use, but I would say probably stick with Vince Carter, maybe get rid of Earl Lloyd, depending if you like the card or not. You can play him over Vince Carter, but I would mainly look to sell Wilt Chamberlain. I just don't think he's really that great of a center card, and then look to get a Brook Lopez to play alongside D-Rob. You could also look to get Taco Fall. That's another thing you can do if you want to just get that one big upgrade, you know, and spend most of your MT on Taco. What I would do is start Taco Fall at power forward, have D-Rob starting at center, and then if you really do like Wilt Chamberlain, you can move him to the backup 5, but then you'd have Giannis as your backup 4 and Wilt as your backup 5. So then I would look to probably get a Marc Gasol or Brook Lopez to play alongside Giannis, in your backup front court. So your bench could be Jimmy Butler, Vince Carter, let's say Hero Brian Scalabrine, Giannis, and then you have, let's say, Marc Gasol or Brook Lopez, and then your starting lineup would be Jokic, T-Mac, Jonathan Isaac, Taco, and D-Rob. I think that's probably the best team you can build. But looking at the next squad here, coming in from MK, he's got an absolute god squad with 1.7 mil. I mean, he's got Scottie Pippen, Bol, Taco, Yao Ming. I'm not sure if you use James Harden just because he's your favorite player. He's also in your profile picture, I do believe. So if you want to use Harden because he's your favorite player, then definitely go ahead and do so. Obviously, that's where I would look to upgrade if you wanted to, but I assume you're probably just a big Harden fan and you like using his cards in my team. So I won't really upgrade James Harden, but for the rating out of 10, I think you got to give this squad like a 9.2 to a 9.5. Once again, I would look to upgrade Harden. I would also look to upgrade Earl Lloyd to potentially a T-Mac. Even the Radiant version, I think, is a huge upgrade for only about 250k to 300,000 MT for your backup small forward. Bunch of different expensive cards you can go with. If you didn't want to spend too much, I think even a guy like Hero Brian Scalabrine is going to be a lot better than Sean Kemp. So your bench could be Ben Simmons, Radiant, T-Mac, let's say Scalabrine, Hakeem, and Dikembe. I think that is a way better bench. And then obviously you do have that great starting lineup with Harden, Pippen, Bol, Taco, and Yao Ming. So overall, great squad. I would just make a couple different tweaks to it. But looking at the next squad here, coming in from Bates, he's got 170,000 MT, and PG, Paul George, and Spida are untradeable. So can't sell Donovan Mitchell and can't sell Paul George. So what I would do with this squad, for the rating out of 10, hard to really rank a team that isn't complete, but if you wanted a quick rating for the players you have, maybe like a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10, something like that. What I would do with your squad though is Donovan Mitchell, unless you really like using him, I would get rid of him. As much as I do like Donovan Mitchell, he's just way too short at being only 6'1". For your 2 point guards, if you like Ben Simmons, I think that's perfectly fine. You can have him off the bench as your backup point guard, but for your starting point guard, I definitely recommend going for a Hudo Turkoglu, whether it's his out of position, whether it's his hero version, or going for Jalen Rose. I think both those guys are a lot better than Donovan Mitchell. What I would do is sell Jaylen Brown, And I would probably just go ahead and get Ricky Davis to play alongside, let's say, Hudo Turkoglu you get for your starting point guard, and then I play Ricky Davis at the starting 2. I think you can keep Paul George, but I would actually bring him off the bench as your backup shooting guard, and I'll talk about that here more in a second. What I would do for your starting small forward is probably just slide Shawn Kemp over to the small forward position. For your starting power forward, I would look to go ahead and get Hero Thurl Bailey, and then for your starting center, I'd probably look to go ahead and get a Marc Gasol or a Brook Lopez to play your starting center position. And then what I would do off the bench is go Ben Simmons, look to get a better backup shooting guard, which I would go Vince Carter. You can definitely afford him in a team like this, and you can maybe even start him if you wanted to over Ricky Davis. Yeah, that's what I would do. Start Vince Carter over Ricky. So your starting lineup would be, for example, let's say Hudo Turkoglu, Vince Carter, Shawn Kemp, Thurl Bailey, Marc Gasol, and then your bench would be Ben Simmons, Ricky Davis, Paul George, for example. Backup power forward, you could probably go, if you want to go for like 2 bigs, I'd recommend maybe go like Kevon Looney. You could potentially go for like a Mo Bamba, you know, at the power forward position, and then do go for Brook. Oh no, Hakeem. I forgot you have Hakeem. You had to move Hakeem to the backup 4, and then look to get Brook Lopez or maybe a Pink Diamond Peter to play the backup center position. So just quickly, your 10-man rotation, I think could look something like this: Hudo Turkoglu, Vince Carter, Shawn Kemp, Thurl Bailey, Marc Gasol, and then your bench would be Ben Simmons, Ricky Davis, Paul George, Hakeem, and then let's say Brook Lopez. I think that's a really good 10-man rotation, especially with the squad you did start out with. Looking at the next team here, coming in though from Snipe, he's nobody spent 230,000 MT for the rating out of 10. I would say like a solid 7 maybe. It's a decent team. With 230k though, I think you can make a pretty big upgrade to the squad. I'm just going to give you a quick 10-man rotation that you can use. So let's go Hudo Turkoglu, Jalen Rose as your 2 point guards. For your 2 shooting guards, let's go Ricky Davis and Caron Butler. For your 2 small forwards, let's go Hero Thurl Bailey and AK-47. For your 2 power forwards, let's go Hakeem Olajuwon, and then let's go Thurl Bailey as your backup 4. And then for your 2 centers, let's go Marc Gasol and Brook Lopez. If you run that 10-man rotation, I think it's a lot better than the current lineup you do have. But looking at the next squad here, coming in from that one dude, he's got a 365k on current gen, and he does say Bill and Ray are unauctionable. So Bill Walton and Ray Allen are unauctionable. So for the rating out of 10, I would say probably an 8 to 8.5. It's a decent squad for sure. I think with 365k though, you can make some pretty decent upgrades. I would look to get cards like potentially Luka Doncic. I think he could play backup point guard, but I'd mainly focus on getting Vince Carter to play over Earl Lloyd, and then bringing Earl Lloyd off the bench, right? He can be your backup shooting guard. I like your 2 small forwards. I would maybe look to move Bill Walton to the backup 4, or start him over Hakeem and then have Hakeem off the bench, and then just look to get a Marc Gasol or Brook Lopez to play your starting center position, unless you wanted to spend a lot of MT and go ahead and get Taco Fall. If you don't want to go ahead and do so, then I think your starting lineup could be Ron Artest, Vince Carter, Zion, Bill Walton, and let's say Brook Lopez. And then your bench could be Sean Livingston, Earl Lloyd, Shawn Kemp. You probably move Hakeem to your backup 4, and then Pink Diamond Peter. I think that's a much better 10-man rotation, but overall a very decent squad to start off with. Looking at the next team here, coming in from Drew, 1.3 million MT. I think there's a lot of upgrades you can make to this squad. 2 point guard positions with 1.3, depending on how much you want to spend. I would at least get Ron Artest and Hudo Turkoglu for your 2 point guards. For your 2 shooting guards, I keep Terry Dischinger and then get Vince Carter for my backup 2. For your 2 small forwards, I think Purvis and Bigsy are perfectly fine. If you wanted to get a Hero Scalabrine, you wanted to get a Jonathan Isaac, those are the 2 small forwards I would go for personally. For power forwards, I think you're fine there with Marc Gasol and Taco Fall, and then I would look to just get a better backup center. You know, whether you want to go crazy, you know, you could even just go for a Dwight or a D-Rob, because they're basically going to be playing power forward alongside Taco. So I get Dwight or D-Rob to play your backup center position, but all around another very solid squad. And then guys, looking at the last team here of the video, coming in from BMK Fish, he's got 400,000 MT and another very solid squad. I would say 8.5 out of 10 for the rating, maybe a little bit higher. For your suggestions, I mean, 400k, you can probably go ahead and get yourself Ron Artest, go ahead and get yourself Vince Carter, Jonathan Isaac. I think those are cards you should definitely be looking to pick up. Let's say you start Ron Artest and you start Vince Carter. Now you can have James Harden, Ricky Davis off the bench. And then for starting small forward, I would go ahead and get Jonathan Isaac and then maybe move Sean Kemp to your backup 3. I think that's your 10-man rotation and you're pretty much good to go. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of the I Rate Improve Your Guys Team series. Let me know in the comment section down below, like I said earlier, what team you guys are rocking with right now and how much MT you guys have, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.